Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! You hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Sorry about that, as usual. Good to see everybody. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Stratosphere Lounge. I am your host, Bill Whittle. It's an interesting day in the neighborhood. Going to be a sci-fi night mostly. Some fun little things to show and talk about. A couple of other things. However, a couple other things in the news. I just writing another firewall, which I'll shoot tomorrow. And just as I was writing it, I don't know if you've seen this. Of course, we have 68, 69, 70 people here live watching, and the rest of you on YouTube. But as we're shooting this live on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, I'm sorry, Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, somebody just sent me a link to the video of them pulling out giant bushels of ballots in Georgia from underneath the tables and counting them for 2 hours with the building so-called shut down. That was the building that reported that they had a water main. That's why they had to stop counting, because they had a broken water main. Well, I saw a surveillance video from the was it State Farm Arena in Atlanta, and there's no water main broken, but they do clear everybody out. And once the press and the Republican observers are out of the building, and there's 4 or 5 people left, they basically go to all of these tables that have these long black tablecloths on them, and they reach out underneath, and they pull out crates of ballots, walk them over, start handing them to the women. They start feeding them into the machine, and then what did I write about that? It's not very important. Anyway, according to the Associated Press, the arbiter of all things in our democracy, Donald Trump lost Georgia by 12,736 votes. However, those machines can count 3,000 votes an hour. There were 3 of them there. That's 9,000 votes an hour. And they are on camera for 2 hours feeding ballots into that machine. That's 18,000 votes. That's way more than the margin of victory. And that's just one center in Atlanta. And I got to tell you, statistical evidence is overwhelming, but statistical evidence is statistical evidence. And if I show you a graph and an XY plot, and I show you all these dots here, and then there's like a dot way over here and a dot way over here, you show that to most people, and it doesn't mean anything. But video of people pulling out giant cases full of ballots in the room that's supposed to be closed down, and marching it over to the TV, over to the counter, that is exactly, and not only is it exactly what you need, it's the only thing that will do. It's the only thing that will do. It is proof, and just the fact that they're doing anything. The ballots could have all been for Trump. They're not. But even if they were all for Trump, they're counting it without anybody there. They've closed down the building. They've lied about all of this stuff. So it is. It's over. I'd love to tell you it's over, meaning that Trump will be reelected and this election will be overturned. The results of this election will be overturned. But I will say this: if this doesn't do it, nothing will. And here's the thing about video evidence. Number one, video evidence is indisputable. I mean, there they are doing it. There's no question about it. It's not like, oh, we moved counting from another stack. They lock the doors, push everybody out, grab some people, pull these things out. We've got signed affidavits from people who saw it happen. We've got some signed affidavits from people who actually did it. The guy who drove those ballots from New York. It is overwhelming evidence. And here's the thing that's encouraging to me. The people who are doing the cheating in that video, I think there's 5 or 6 of them, maybe it was as many as 7. There were 4 for most of the time. But we can see them on video. Now, it's not good enough to get a real clear read on their face, but clearly, if I were to look at this video and then walk into that room, I could clearly identify who was who. So the people who were the lowest level people, the people doing the actual cheating, are identifiable, and that tells me that you can go to these low level people and say, here's your picture on camera of you illegally counting ballots, illegally hiding ballots, all of this stuff. This is a federal felony, and the FBI is compromised. I'll get to that in a bit. But you threaten those people with going to jail, and they're not gonna protect the people that put them up to this. These people are not true believers. They're people working for pay. You know, they're not the ideological leaders of this kind of thing. So they will rat out the next level up, and then you just keep going, and you just keep going and keep going until you get to Biden, and you get to all the rest of them, and you get to Comey and all of it. The theme of this, the firewall I just wrote is called "You Are Not Alone," and it was actually "You Are Not Crazy, You Are Not Wrong, and You Are Not Alone." But they're sure trying to make you feel that way. But the opening of this thing is basically, I just put it like this. It's like you hear everybody telling you there's no evidence of voter fraud, no compelling evidence of voter fraud, no compelling evidence of massive voter fraud, no compelling evidence of massive voter fraud that could have changed the course of the election, and now there's that too. Basically what I said, when you think about how deep and wide this corruption has to be, the only rational conclusion that a reasonable and rational person can come to is that I'm paranoid and delusional. That's the only rational explanation for it. To believe it in the face of all these people saying no, and Justice Department and everybody, and then to realize that this has got to involve the governors of the states and all the secretaries of state. It's like, no, I must be delusional. This is wishful thinking, paranoid delusion on my part. That's the only rational explanation. And then you get down to, well, I remember Lois Lerner saying that the emails that the IRS had, the memos proving that that they were targeting conservative 501c3s, that those memos were not available because the hard drive crashed. Really? Yeah, the hard drive crashed. You lost everything? No, we just lost those files. What about the legally mandated backup? That crashed too. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, those files are shared on about 1,000 computers spread out all over the Internal Revenue Service's network. Those hard drives failed too. All 1,000 of them? Uh-huh. What about the backups for those 1,000 hard drives? They all failed too. They're just a glitch. Okay. I watched Hillary Clinton deny that she'd had any of these records, deny that she'd touched any of these records. I watched James Comey say she not only had them, she tried to destroy them. Those are two different felonies. Each count carries a 3-year prison term, and so on. James Comey lists hundreds of counts of her committing these felonies. And what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. Jeffrey Epstein. Oh my God, he killed himself. Really? Yep. Terrible. Okay, let's go to the video camera that we had, the 24-hour video surveillance camera on Epstein's cell. The video camera burned out. It's running now. Yeah, it just burned out for about 12 minutes. Just gone. Really? Yep. The guys that make the video camera, the same ones that make the hard drives that the IRS has, and the same ones that make these electronic voting systems. And my point in all of this is, and of course, James Comey, the FBI director, colluding with Hillary Clinton to create evidence to start a 4-year coup, including a 2-year special prosecutor investigation and an impeachment process against a sitting president. This is the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I used to believe in the untouchables. I did. I don't know if anybody from the FBI is watching this. It's barely possible. But I have to tell you, I am ashamed. I am ashamed of you. I am ashamed that there's no one in that agency stood up to this when it was happening. I know there's some honest people in the agency, But there's apparently no honest, courageous people in the agency. So, you know, FBI, you're dead to me. If somebody says the FBI investigated this, to me that means nothing. It means nothing. It means that the Democratic Party covered it up. And so whether somebody says they've been bent forever, may be true. I had confidence in the FBI, but I don't anymore. And I don't have any confidence in the government anymore. And I don't have any confidence in the system anymore. The one thing I do, I have confidence in two things. I have confidence in America as an idea, and I have confidence in the American people. And I watch people like Sidney Powell and all the rest of these people standing up, and that one guy who admitted that he drove ballots from New York to Pennsylvania, and the fact that the American people won't let it go, and we just stay at it, and they're not going to win. They're not going to win. I'm not saying that they can't. Here's what I'm saying. This was a watershed earlier today. Once there is video evidence of them cheating, now anybody that continues to go along with it knows that they're caught, right? It's one thing to be like an anonymous part of a conspiracy and prove it. In fact, that's what the county commissioner, or the elections commissioner, whatever his name is, in Fulton County, Atlanta, said, put up or shut up. Okay, we'll put up. How about that? We'll put up. That's what we did. We put up. And Mobile Moto says Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood aren't to be trusted. They're lawyers. Well, somebody's going to bat for the country, and I don't see Republican politicians doing it. However, they can suppress it all they want to. The evidence is out there. Video evidence is out there, and this is going to turn a lot of people. A lot of people, including Republican politicians. Once there's video evidence of cheating, people who are either involved with it or were willing to go along with it thought it might, yeah, you know what, just let's get rid of Donald Trump, whatever. They're going to have to make a decision now. And what's even best about all this is, I think even in the dim corners of these people's minds, I think even they are probably able to make the connection that, well, we didn't know that there was video of this. We thought we got away with it in Georgia. We thought we had that one in the bag. Sewn up, certified, completed, done. Now there's video evidence of this. So what else is out there that we don't know about? People have been talking about James O'Keefe and him getting inside the CNN thing. I'm pleased to report, I'm not ashamed to be name dragging, got a call from James O'Keefe a couple hours ago. And he asked me, I won't tell you what he asked me about. Far be it from me to spoil James O'Keefe's surprises. He just asked for a historical quote that he remembers me saying at one of my talks. So he called me up and said, what was the source of this thing? I said, I'll get it for you. Copied it, sourced it, emailed it to him. He's going to use it. It has to do with moral courage, however. And they can't beat us. It is just as true as that line in Serenity, you know. The signal will get out. You know, the signal will get out. The internet provides unprecedented abilities for totalitarian states to monitor and affect the behavior of their citizens. Unprecedented ability to control our lives, but it also provides unprecedented ability to let the light in through the papered over windows. It's an old rhetorical device of mine. I think it's one of the first things I ever did mention when I was doing the public speaking, these many years ago. About 10 years ago. One of the first things I would say is, you know, the funny thing about being on the side of truth is is that you cannot project darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. Darkness doesn't exist as a force. You cannot make a room dark. All you can do is turn out the lights. And if you take a birthday candle and you put it on the 50-yard line in the middle of the Superdome and you turn out every single light in the place, that whole Superdome is being lit by that candle. It's not very bright, but it's being lit. And you can't. That's going to win. They have the cheating has enormous short-term benefits, and the same thing with all the tech companies. They have enormous short-term advantages, but in the long run, they don't win. They can't win. So anyway, that video is that's it. That's it. I mean, it's really it. Now, people in the comments section are saying, "Wait till you see this. This on a scale of 1 to 10." Zarge Fang says that Georgia video evidence is a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. Trump will drop some 7 or 8 soon. I hope so. I hope so. I've been waiting, but I'll say this in my defense: I've been waiting. Haven't given up, haven't surrendered. Just hey, it ain't over till it's over. So we will see. But now with that video evidence, now people are involved with this. Either the people who are directly involved with it are not going to, they're just going to run and hope. But the people who may be on the edges of it are going to have to decide, well, what do we really want to do here? But I would go after those 4 or 5 people in that voting center, and I would dangle 20 years in federal prison in front of them. See how they like that. Because they don't strike me as the kind of folks that are going to fall on their swords for the glorious cause. So anyway, I just saw that video a couple hours ago, and it's the best thing I've seen so far. I saw statistical evidence different than the stuff that Dr. what's his name gave. Much better analysis, and I thought that was overwhelming, and it is overwhelming. But this is different. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so much for that. Thought we'd take a break. Oh, in other news, those of you may be wondering why we haven't seen any Bill Whittle Nows this week. It's because we are going to stop doing them, and we're going to replace them with we're going to aim for a firewall a week. We're going to start for one every 2 weeks, but we're going to really aim for one a week. We've had such a boost in membership, and it's been really helpful. So now we are going to do a couple things. One of the reasons too is that Scott and I were talking about it. Mostly Scott saying it's like we just shot episode 5. The last one that aired was episode 541. And really, I mean, how many times can you talk about COVID-19 or election fraud? Scott has to come up with these topics, and he has to try and make them different. And I think what we're going to do, what we're going to try to do, is we're going to basically record a Bill Whittle Now kind of thing. We'll shoot it and we'll record it, but we won't release it. And basically, I'm going to get Scott to push me even harder, and we'll use that as the basis for the firewall script for that week. That's what we're doing this week for the first time. The one that I plan to shoot and release tomorrow is essentially my response to an earlier session. But it's just not sustainable, and we have to do one or the other. And I think the firewalls are probably better received. We'll keep doing the right angles, obviously. So we will see. Anyway, so that's that. That may change in the future. We'll see how it plays. But right now, I'm looking forward to stepping up and doing those. And we got a script finished, loaded, ready to run, and we'll shoot that puppy tomorrow morning and get it out tomorrow. Okay. So I thought we might do like some science fiction tonight. I had a couple little juicy, delicious morsels to spread. Always beware of people that use food imagery Anybody who says, oh, that's very tasty, watch out for folks like that. So I've got a bunch of things here, just no particular order. I'll just chuck a few of them your way and you tell me what you think. Let me see here. So I have been in a particular mode lately, and that mode now is I've been playing around doing tests for well over a year, and now it's time for me to get the assets that I need. Assets would be things like 3D models, textures, sets, all of it. Is to get these assets locked down so that I can drag them and drop them, and that's a tedious process. For anything that's space-based, I have to lock them down in 3D Studio, and anything that happens on the ground, I have to lock them down in Unreal. And some ships are both orbital and they can land on planets, so I have to have two of those, one for each one of the two engines, and they've got to be identical. So it's a lot of work. The whole thing's a lot of work. However, I do have a few things to show you. So one of the things that I can actually lock down early, and one of the things that I needed to lock down early for the sake of the story, was the setting. So I'm planning on calling this thing the Colonies, and basically there are going to be 3 concurrent storylines. One of them is basically the exploration storyline, or boldly go where no man has gone before, strange new worlds. Going to see things that I haven't seen exploration and discovery in science fiction on television since the original series, really. Even Next Generation was always just visiting places they've been before. So genuine exploration and really, really, really carefully thought out worlds. That's one storyline. Another storyline will be kind of the naval storyline, where it's the actual fight for independence. And then the third storyline will be kind of a Old West sort of a storyline, where we're dealing with a family in a rover, and it's basically they're in a Conestoga wagon, they're heading out west. So these 3 stories will run concurrently, and they will allow us to kind of weave back and forth between like space combat. Oh my God, look at that! We've never seen that before. And then just the real rigors of being out there on the frontier, because that's what America needs. It needs a frontier, and it doesn't just need one now. I think it needs a frontier in order to succeed as a country. So the first thing I had to do is I had to figure out where I'm going to set this thing. Now I have decided that that I'm not going to use any magic in this thing, as I decided with the previous Aurora script that I wrote back in 2007, I want to say. So no magic means, slower than light travel, 50-60% of the speed of light. That's an engineering problem. I don't remember how many horsepower the Wright Flyer had. I want to say it was 3 or 7, something like that. Either 3 horsepower or 7 horsepower. The engine that was built by Townsend? Charles Townsend or Clyde? Somebody. I should know his name. Anyway, they built the model, the Wright Flyer engine specifically for that aircraft, and it had a 3 or 4 horsepower engine. And if you told the Wright brothers that you could now produce an engine that generates 300,000 horsepower, you would have amazed them, but that's an engineering problem. So no magic means, yeah, you can get tremendous efficiency and tremendous thrust, and you can do a 2G burn for 2 years if you want to. That's an engineering problem. But going faster than light is a physics problem. And no matter how much you want to, there's no way to do it. I just am utterly convinced about it. No matter how, every time, the Albuquerque, the wormholes, it's no, it's just wishful thinking on our part. And that's fine. So we can do it. So what I needed to do is I needed to set this thing. And if I'm going to basically be doing an analog of both the discovery of America and the War of Independence and the Old West, and kind of run all 4 of these things together, I got to have a setting. And since I'm dealing with no magic, it's got to be a real setting. Now there's a piece of software out there. It's just really fantastic if you're in this kind of mood, if you love astronomy. It's called Space Engine. And Space Engine isn't a game. It's simply a really beautiful look at at what's in space. Lets you travel through space. There are some free upgrades for it that give you super high detailed versions of our solar system. But every single, and there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of stars in there, and they're all real stars. And you can click on those stars, you can go there, and it'll procedurally generate a solar system based on what we know about solar systems so far. And they're constantly adding, I don't know how many actual discovered exoplanets are in Space Engine now, but I think it's getting close to 1,000. So I've got, I had to figure out where am I going to set this thing? And that's actually kind of a problem. So if you look at the local neighborhood of stars, what you find is the Earth and the Sun are in the middle, obviously, where it belongs. But generally speaking, the average distance between stars is generally about 4 or 5 light years. If you, in Space Engine, you can go from here to Alpha Centauri, and then you can zoom out from Alpha Centauri, and you can see what's around Alpha Centauri. And it's now Alpha Centauri is in the center of the map. You can do it with Tau Ceti. You can do it with any of them. And what you find is that the average distance is more or less 5 light years, round numbers, maybe a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. But the nearest stars to each other are usually 4 or 5 light years apart at least. And so I was looking and looking and looking, and since it's slower than light travel, I can't go looking forever. I gotta keep it relatively close. And then finally, I found what I was looking for. It is the fifth. I should know this. Hang on 1 second. This is a very, very simple thing for me to figure out. Hang on, and I just need to know this. So, and oh, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. There is a star system out there called Eta Cassiopeiae. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Eta Cassiopeiae. The general naming for stars, at least for the brighter stars, is a constellation is just a random piece of sky. A constellation does not exist as any kind of an entity. It's only a little patch of a completely artificial line based on stick figures. There's nothing about a constellation that has any structural significance. But the way we name stars is we look at the stars in any particular constellation, and with very few exceptions, the brightest star in the constellation is Alpha, the second brightest is Beta, and so on. So Alpha Centauri is the brightest star in Centaurus, the Centaur, and Beta Centauri is the second brightest star. Sirius is Alpha Canis Majoris, the brightest star in Canis Major, and so on and so on and so on. So there's a solar system out there. I want to say it's about 19 light years away from the Earth, and it's called Eta Cassiopeiae, which would make it the 7th brightest star in Cassiopeia. I can see it with the naked eye. You can see it with the naked eye if you know where to look. And it's really cool, by the way, to go out on a walk at nighttime with my wife and look up and see that little spot right there. That's where this whole story is going to take place. Here's what's cool about Eta Cassiopeiae. First of all, it's a binary. That's usually bad for planetary formation, but I'm going to roll with that one. They're separated by about 90 AU, general, 90 astronomical units, as little as 30 astronomical units, and as much as 120. So you've got room for a compact solar system. You got these two stars orbiting each other. If the solar system's too big, then the gravitational pull from the other star is going to rip planets off. But you can have a pretty tight little solar system. And I'm further justifying it by saying not many asteroids or small bodies here, because they just get picked off by the gravity of the other star. But you can have, realistically, you can have, a solar system that goes out to 3 or 4 astronomical units, and you're pretty much gravitationally protected. So, Eta Cassiopeiae is actually double stars, so it's Eta Cassiopeiae A and Eta Cassiopeiae B. B is a type K star. It's warmer than the sun, considerably cooler, considerably dimmer. A is a type G star, same spectral frequency as the sun, but its diameter is about half of the sun, and its luminosity is well below 1/10. So I've decided to build them there. But here's what's really cool about it, because there are other double stars out there. It's the only thing I could find on the star map that made me go, wow. Eta Cassiopeiae, are double stars separated by 90 astronomical units, 90 times the distance from the Earth to the Sun as an average. However, there is another star, Gliese. I don't remember the name. It's either Gliese or Gaia. But there is another star, completely different star system. You know how far away that is from Eta Cassiopeiae binary? It's 1/10 of 1 light year away. 1/10 of 1 light year away. There's an entirely different star system. In fact, if you go to the other star system, I want to say, like I say, I think it's a Gaia number, but it's a real star. If you go there, you can clearly see the double because you're 1/10 of a light year away. So that gives you three. It gives you 3 solar systems, and it gives you 3 solar systems that are right on each other's doorstep. They're in the same neighborhood block. And then these 3 are a long way away from everything else, just like everything else is a long way away from everything else. So those are going to be the colonies, the combined worlds of those 3 solar systems. And I like the fact that 2 of them are very close and the third one's relatively close, because that kind of mimics the difference between the way that New England would feel about New Hampshire versus the way they felt about Georgia. You know, we've got allies that are right here, and then there's those guys. They're all part of the same team, but who knows what can happen out there with those Southerners? So it's perfect. It's absolutely great, and the spectral types match and everything. So a few things to show you tonight, and I'll start with this. So I decided one thing I could do by myself is to build out that solar system, those 3 solar systems. And since this is all in 3D Studio, I can do this on my own. So I decided to build out Eta Cassiopeiae B first, the dimmer orange star. And I got 5 planets in there, and I'll just show them to you real quick so you can tell me what you think of them. So here we go. So those are the 5 planets to scale in Eta Cassiopeiae B. They're all named from The Tempest. One on the far left is Sycorax. Minor character, doesn't speak much. The second one is Adrian. Third one is Caliban. The giant is Prospero. And then the ice giant on the far right is Alonso. So this is how they look to scale. And as it turns out, I've got close-up renderings of all of them. So it's actually a pretty cool system. So here's basically what I did. I invented the solar system. The stars are real, but I built the planets out the way I thought it'd be good for storytelling. So let's start on the far left with Sycorax. This thing is orbiting so close to the sun that it's in a constant molten state, and it's extremely dense, largely metallic. So it is basically the resources of the entire system. In fact, it's probably the resources of all 3 systems. Problem is that since it's so close to the sun, to Beta Cassiopeiae B, that it's in a constant state of being molten, and even the dark side, because it's not tidally locked, is pretty much molten. So I've got some really cool lava landscapes, and I can have guys walking around on a lava landscape in like these super, super, super thick and heavy-duty spacesuits. So number 1, it's just beautiful. Number 2, it gives you a really cool, just a really cool place to tell a story. It's a lot like that planet in Chronicles of Riddick, where the sun comes up and it blows everything out. I thought that was fantastic. So anyway, so that's the smallest one by far. I want to say it's a 1,700 mile radius. That sounds about right. So moving on to number 2. Well, or not. What happened to you, Adrian? Hang on. Don't panic. Where did you go? I will reload it. Stand by. Because I got it right here. No, I didn't. What the hell happened to it? Is it the next one? All right, now I'm actually starting to get a little concerned here why these things aren't showing up. Because they're in there and they're loaded. You miserable son of a... Is it because they're PNGs? That's a JPEG. That's a JPEG. Should be there. Hang on. Sorry, technical error. We all know how this show runs. Well, crap. That's annoying. That's really annoying. I would plug them in, but I've put the drives away and I'm not going to produce any more dead air. So that's really, really annoying. Anyway, the second planet, really, really, really annoying. You know what? I'm going to get it. Hang on. Everybody hold your water there. Don't panic. No, wait a minute. I don't even know how I can do this. No, I can't plug it in. That's just gone. Oh, well. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll have them next time. So, second planet on the left is like a Mars. It's very Mars-like. I think I might have a high-res version of this. Hang on. Yeah, it's a little better. So you can see that the second guy is kind of like a Mars. The third planet is Caliban, and Caliban is really where the action is for this particular solar system. I'll just ditch this now. That is just heartbreaking. Really is. I had it all lined up and working and ready to go. Excuse me. So third planet is Caliban, and Caliban is a planet that is already covered completely in vegetation. It's got water all. Just think of the Everglades, the size of an entire planet. And Caliban is going to be the place where I showed you those aliens from a couple episodes ago, where the whole planet is nothing but predators. Everything's eating everything all the time. It's just constant death. And so I've got some really cool creatures, really cool models that all look like they're related to each other. So Caliban is actually a place you can get out, walk around. It's hot. It's about 130 degrees Fahrenheit mean surface temperature, so it's hot. But because it's hot and the gravity's higher than Earth, these creatures are very fast. There's a lot of oxygen, and they have very quick metabolisms, and it's a very, very deadly place. Although, since I said no magic, you could walk out into the middle of the jungle of Caliban, and if you were wearing any kind of a spacesuit or something made out of Kevlar, they could bite and claw you all they wanted to. They're not coming through that Kevlar. I was just laughing at Avatar when they shot arrows through armored windows, you know. So anyway, so the green one is Caliban, and that's going to be where there's a lot of action. The gas giant is Prospero. I basically just took a good Jupiter map. I photoshopped out the red spot, and I just went and changed the colors. That works for me. And then the one on the right is actually a really cool planet too. That's Alfonso. It's a gigantic Earth. Alfonso's 10,000. Is it 10,000? It's hard to remember. No, Caliban is 10,000. Alfonso's like 20,000. It's a huge. It's 2 or 3 times the size of the Earth. The one on the far right. It's frozen solid. It's got an atmosphere, and I wish I had these close-ups because the close-ups were fantastic. I really bummed out about that. But I'll have them for you next time. So basically, I've got one of the 3 solar systems that I need at least basically blocked out. And now I'm going to do Eta Cassiopeiae. Did I move myself? Eta Cassiopeiae A, and then I'm going to do the Gaia thing. I have a couple of other quick renders to show you, then we'll talk a little bit about some expanse, and then we'll go on after. I just, it just doesn't make any sense like everything else. It's like, that just should be there. Why is it not there? Hang on. It's just plain gone. Unlock it. Turn it on. Nothing. It's gone. I can't explain it. All right. Anyway, I had some animations for you. So here's the first one. You might have seen this already. So that's a test on the planet. This is done with Unreal. The other ones were done in 3D Studio, and I'm pretty sure I showed you this already. And I might have shown you the next one already too. But I know I do have a couple of them that are new. Here's basically the same ship. I love this particular piece of animation. It's weird to get used to because in Unreal, you basically set the whole thing up like a stage play, and then you just basically change cameras. You just basically switch cameras. Everything's happening in real time. So I really, really like this one a lot. And of all of it, I'll just see if I can run it again here. My favorite part by far, are the guys inside the red cockpit, because it reminds me so much of the of 2000. That shot right there reminds me so much of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It really, really sells it. So yeah, I'm real happy with this animation. I think this looks great for a one-person test. And then same setting. I added this. It's a little jerky, but it shouldn't be normally. There's all kinds of weird reflections on the bottom of the rover. Turns out the surface of the planet is actually kind of metallic and stuff. And I don't like the fact that those wheels are turning with just the rims. I'm going to re-rig that so that the whole wheel appears to turn, because it's tough. It doesn't look like they're turning. But it's pretty cool. And I like the lighting very much. So... you know, starting to get there with that. What have I got here? What about this one? Oh, that's this one. Been playing with... these textures are not great, but I do like the geometry. And I don't, again, it's kind of skipping a little bit on the playback. I really like the geometry for this. And by the way, it was explained to me by my friends at SpaceX, but every time you see one of these things with only one thing going around, like the Leonov on 2010, physically impossible. It pulls the rest of the ship with it. You've got to have counter rotation for those things. Oh, it's working its way down. Okay, so then I've also got a couple more that are cool. Where'd they go? No, don't do this to me. Did they go to the other drive too? That would piss me off. I guess they did. Now, the only other thing I have is just this little asteroid lighting test, but yeah, I can't load the other ones, because if I do, I have to unplug the mic. So that's that. Damn it, that really is annoying. But anyway, all right, so more to show off next time, I guess. Although next show is going to be all political, because next show will be just before the electors sit. So anyway, some progress being made there, and the solar systems I think look really good. So let's talk a little bit about The Expanse and some other sci-fi stuff, and then we'll take some questions. So I had like pointedly not watched The Expanse for 5 years, or however long it's been out, 3 years. Just pointedly not watched it. I just, what I saw of it, I just didn't like. From, you know, just the clips and stuff I found on YouTube. So I started watching it. I'm almost through the end of the second season now. I don't hate the people as much as I thought I would. But man, I don't know. It's a pretty well acted show. The lead character is an odd choice for a captain. He's very kind of beta, you know, but he's actually a good actor, plays the role well, and he pulls it off. He looks like a guy who's not really cut out to be a captain, but he's just kind of doing the job, and I suppose he's going to get better at it. I'm so bad with these names now. The British woman engineer, she's actually very good. The Pakistani Texan guy, Alex, is it? He's fun, and Amos is just one of the best characters I've ever seen. That actor and that role are astonishing, and I'm only at the end of season 2. That is a fantastic piece of writing and casting. The guy who plays him is just brilliant. He's just this. I wanted to say he's like a death butt, but he's not. He's actually really deep. It's a tremendous actor, and really like that a lot. I don't really buy the Iranian woman who looks like she's been smoking, sounds like she's been smoking since she was 3. Although I have to say, I do like the way she's written. We're talking about The Expanse. There have been times when I thought, oh, come on, but she's really, really pretty well written. And I kind of believe her. I mean, I certainly believe her as a leader and stuff. I don't believe the whole UN thing. I believe the Mars MCRN, but I don't believe the UN. I just never bought it. Um, we just met not too long ago. Was it Bobby Draper, the female Marine from Mars? And this is where I start to have real problems with the Expanse, major problems. So you've got these four Martian Marines, the toughest soldiers in the entire solar system, and two of them are black guys, and two of them are snappy-talking women, and there's no white males at all, ever, in the Marine Corps, just like in real life. And that just bothers me, because that's where they're inserting their politics, and they're putting their foot in my face on purpose. You know, we'll show you. You know, it's like, and I'm going to do the exact opposite with this colonies thing. It's not going to be cast so it looks like America. It's going to be cast so it looks like Control Room at SpaceX or any other group of scientists, or it's going to look like the Ready Room in a fighter squadron on an aircraft carrier, because that's what these people look like as a general rule. We're going to have black people, we're going to have Chinese people, Asians, we're going to have women, have all of them, but we're not going to be putting together a ratio designed to change your behavior about things. Just not going to do it. It's just ridiculous. In fact, I'm going to pointedly fly in the face of that, and I'll catch some heat for that, I hope. And then you get into the parts of it that I just really can't stand. And that's this whole third world in space thing. I just don't buy it. I just don't. You know, it's one thing to have the huddled masses here on Earth, but if you have to basically pay for the air and ship the air and the food and the water, there's just I cannot fathom how you would have the third world inside of an asteroid. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, it just doesn't. And I am so sick on the Expanse. I'm so sick of these ragtag looking refugees and these crying children, and it's just like, just no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And the whole thing is it's just really the whole kind of politics of it's just too much in your face for me on all of those fronts. And they get their little global warming thing in there, the opening animation, the opening scenes, credit roll for season 2. You get to see like you watch a big piece of ice break off from the ice shelf, and then you see the waters rising around the Statue of Liberty. Then they build like a it's a copper dam. Copper dam, is that what's called around there? And then New York City's got these giant walls where the rising sea levels from global warming are there. Unless of course you want to have a cool scene the last episode I saw, they've got this Martian Marine, Bobby, and she wants to see the ocean. So she walks out past the wall and she sits there on the beach and looks at the ocean. And there's this gigantic wall behind her that's supposed to be protecting her from all of the global warming sea level rise. And I guess it was just on a smoke break. That's about the only thing I could think of. That sea level rise is just on a smoke break, because we're not talking about tides here. So they're just, I'm so bloody sick of it. I'm just so sick of it. Oh, the exploited masses. Oh, I'll be honest with you, folks. The reason I would want to go to space is to get away from all of that stuff. And that's what I'm going to be doing, honestly. I'm going to make this my show, I'm going to make it look and feel completely different. And people are going to be running away from that kind of stuff. They're going to be running away from bureaucrats, they're going to be running away from regulations, they're going to be running away from all of this. They're going to live out in the middle of nowhere where there's no law, and all you have to depend upon is your family, your gun, and maybe your neighbors if you're lucky. Now I'll give you just a quick idea of what I'm talking about here. I told you there's going to be basically 3 storylines: the exploration storyline, and that'll be great. And then there's the kind of the naval combat, the war side of it, the fighting side. And then the third one is the colonization itself. So you saw the rover test I just did a little while ago. And you'll have a string of these things, 15, 20, 30 of them or something. And most of them are different. Some of them are the same, but they're all customized and unique. And there are 20 or 30 families that are heading out from a landing spot by rover out into the unknown, and they're not coming back. They're just going out there. And I think one of the three main characters and the lead of this kind of Old West homesteading, pioneer is a better word, story, I think I'm going to have this guy be a water purification specialist. He's just sick of all the regulations. So he goes out there, and his job is to crack water and deliver it to the other colonists for pay. But they're all going to put down their houses, and they're going to be spread apart. They're going to be, if not out of sight, they're going to be miles and miles and miles away from each other. All these people are running from is this hive city stuff back on Earth. And I got a scene I really like a lot. I like a lot because it really goes to the politics of what I'm trying to do. Since they're out on the frontier, and since they have to depend on each other, I'm going to have this hero guy and his family. Hero meaning like the thing you focus on, like a hero suit or a hero prop or something. Anyway, so this guy and his family out there, and they're doing their best, and they get a distress call from their neighbors that are 20 miles away or something, and then it's cut off. And so the guy hops in his rover and he grabs his gun, and he frozen nighttime and blizzard and all this other stuff, and it's deadly poison outside. And he goes out to their homestead, and he's feeding video back to his family, to his wife and his and kids back home, and he gets to this other small little cluster of modules, and he sees that it's all doors are open and blasted and shot open. He cuts the video feed. He doesn't want his family to see this, walks inside, and then his neighbors, who we've already met, who are good people, they're just lying there dead on the ground, and somebody's basically taken everything they had. And it's just like, okay, so what? You got some people out here on the absolute edges of the fringes. There's no law really out there. They just came in, took what they wanted, killed everybody, and left, as they have done throughout all of human history. And then I'm going to have that guy go back to his house. And then I'm going to have him have a conversation with his wife. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation. It'll go something like this. He's going to come home, and she's going to say, what happened? She said, they're all dead. It's just raiders or something, but they're all dead. We'll have to go back tomorrow and bury them. But no, I just wanted to head back home. Oh my God, what are we going to do? There's nobody to call. There's no police, nothing. You're off the map because you don't want to deal with people on the map. And then I want to have a scene where this guy's just sitting there looking at the floor, because I've had to deal with this living in California. It's a real thing. And I want him to basically just say, honey, I'm going to have to kill these guys. I'm going to have to go out there and kill them, because if I don't kill them, they're going to kill us. I'm going to have to go out there and kill them. And I have to do it real soon. I have to find them, and I have to kill them. Because if we wait for them, we're dead. And I'm going to have to use you and the kids as bait. And I don't see any way around it. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, she's a frontier wife. She's cool. She's worried about it. But the main thing with well, honey, if you kill him, won't that make you a murderer? Won't you be in jail or whatever for this? You can't just go out and kill people. And it's like, well, they're out there killing people, and they found them, they're going to find us. So either I go out and kill them, or they're going to kill us, and that's it. Those are the choices. Or we run. Everything we did here, everything we put in, all the work, the modules and the gardens and all that, we either stay or we don't. And if we stay, I got to get the drop on these guys, because otherwise we're just sitting ducks. I really, 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 really like that. Really, really, really like that. Because that is a moral dilemma, and it's a legal dilemma. And it is the essence of the frontier, and it's the essence of conservatism when you get right down to it. Does this guy have the right to protect his family and himself? Yes or no? He does, yes. Does he have a right to protect his own life? Yes. Does he have a right to protect the life of his family? Yes. Does he have a right to protect his property? Yes. Does he have a right to kill people for his property? Well, you certainly don't have the right to kill people and take their property, and you don't really have the right to kill somebody if they just march on your property. However, if it's a well-known fact that there are people out there murdering homesteaders and taking their stuff, then it really is them or us. It's like, those are wolves now. Those are predators out there. They're wolves. And the legal dilemma. Well, what happens if you kill these guys and then, you know, marshal comes or law comes? What happens? I mean, do you go to jail? You know, you're not talking about a shootout where you defend yourself. You're talking about going out and hunting those guys. Yeah, before they come and get us. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a really powerful argument, and like so many of the other things, the entire reason I'm trying to do this is it makes modern life very understandable and very clear. So it's kind of like living in California, you know. I mean, if you live in Texas and somebody comes in your window, you shoot them, you get a medal. Here, you're as likely to go to jail for the rest of your life as the guy coming in your window, and it's not a good feeling, because now you're not even concerned about self-defense. Now you're concerned about the fact that the state is on the side of the criminals. That's the world we live in now. So anyway, people need to see what human history is like. And human history is the story of good, decent people working together and building things out of nothing, and then having these miserable, murdering bastards come down out of the hill on their horses, lifetime warriors. You'll never match them, no, until the gun comes along anyway. And all they do is murder, rape, plunder, and steal, and then they go out and do some more of it, and you have to stop them. And I think if you present it in this way, and if you show, hey, this family that was over a couple nights ago, we're all drinking and laughing, having a great time. Yeah, they're all just greasy spots on the ground on the inside of their hab module now. All the kids are murdered too, except for maybe the little girl who's been taken into slavery, sex slavery. So this is either going to happen to us, it will happen to us, or we do something about it. So even as somebody's pointing out marshals, and I'm going to have marshals, and I'm going to go with the Old West vision of a marshal as a generally, not going to do the anti-hero. I'm going to do the, you know, Matt Dillon Lone Ranger kind of thing. There are going to be some individuals that go out there and try to enforce the law, but they can't be there all the time. And certainly somebody who lives on the frontier as a marshal is not going to take a guy who defends his family by killing the people that have murdered other people. He's not going to take them to jail. He'll give them a medal, right? I mean, that's really it. If you got a marshal shows up from a just society, a sane society, and you show up and you say, what happened? Well, these guys murdered my friends over here, and I knew they were coming to murder me, so instead of letting them murder me, I went out and shot them all while they were sleeping. Good call. Have a cookie. And who covers these things? Who talks about this? Nobody. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody. Yeah, and an excellent point. I wish I thought of that. Ed Smith says, and that marshal might want to make that man a deputy. You're damn right he might. On Netflix, there's a really cool series. I love it. I'm waiting for the second installment called Love, Death, and Robots. And it's, I want to say it's maybe 10 or 12 animated shorts. They're each about 15 minutes. And they're all completely different, not related to each other in any way. And I really love them. Some of them are great. And even when the worst ones are just, one of them's not good, but the rest of them are either good or great. So one of them is a kind of a wild sort of an animation, real cartoony animation. And it's about these farmers. And they're living in a farm, and they're on a farm, and they're growing corn and all of this stuff. And then there's like these aliens coming onto their farm. And he calls up his neighbors, and each one of the three neighbors, this guy and two other neighbors, climb into these giant battle mechs, you know, these huge fighting robots. So they go marching out into the field, the three of them. They're gunning down these aliens. They're being overwhelmed and run down and so on. And it's perfect. The way the husband is portrayed, he's just this mountain of a guy. You know, he's huge, and his wife is kind of tiny, but she's gutsy and stuff, and she's kind of guarding the homestead, and they're out there fighting these aliens, and it's just, they're farmers, and then at the very end, you pull back, and you see they're on their alien planet, and there's just little domes everywhere, and they're inside this dome, and it's fantastic. It is really, really America, and it's so cool, and I just loved it. And that's kind of the vibe I'm looking for, you know, because this is the vibe that I'm getting from America now, and that is that there's a lot of people out there that cannot be trusted at all, and good people refuse to believe that. Well, let me rephrase that. They don't want to believe it. And good people have a very hard time believing, and they will never really understand that there are people out there that don't give a damn about cheating, love to cheat, have not the slightest bit of remorse in terms of taking you, your stuff, your kids, your life. They don't care. They don't care. And they're out there. And nobody's talking about that stuff in entertainment. And I figure if you can put together the wonder of Star Trek, the kind of the fighting spirit of the revolution, the cowboy spirit of the Westerns, and make it real, and as Mobile Moto just pointed out, gritty and chaotic, but at the same time make it idealistic and hopeful. In other words, yes, good does triumph over evil. Good people will defeat evil people. It's not going to be free. It's not going to be easy. No one ever said it would be, but they will win. And boy, you guys you're right ahead of me. Dean Nelson says, revive the John Wayne man. Exactly. He's not a braggart. He's not a murderer. He's not a mean guy. He's a kind, gentle farmer. He's farming water. But he's protecting his family, and he's out there, and he sees the consequences of what people will do. And he's not just going to sit there and run, because he's put his entire life into this. Everything he had and everything his wife had to get here, he's not going to turn around and run. And he's not going to just sit there and wait to be killed either. And the thing I like most about that scene and this whole storyline is that this is not a pleasant, it's not like, well, I'm going to have to wake up tomorrow morning and just going to have to go out there and kill him, honey. Not only is he concerned about his legal standing and the moral imperative of it, there's a large majority chance that he's not going to make it, that he's fighting professional trained killers. If he doesn't ambush them, then he's got no chance at all. So it's dangerous. And the easy thing to do is to run. That's the easy thing to do. You can't call the cops. There are no cops. So run or fight. And I really like that a lot. And I have similar kinds of things for all three of these storylines. Just really great moments. And I'm really excited about it. Anyway, that aspect of the Expanse is just, do I really need? I have to tell you, and I'm not making this up. The Expanse to me looks like Los Angeles. It's really that's what's happened to Los Angeles. The Expanse bothers me as much as it does because it reminds me so much of Los Angeles. Every place here now, thanks to Gavin Newsom and Jerry Brown, there's homeless people under every single overpass, everywhere, all over the place, and just the streets are filthy and everything's just horrible. And it shouldn't be that way. It's just mismanagement. It's bad management. It's bad governance. And the same is true for the Expanse. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I just believe it's somebody trying to kick me in the face with some kind of political agenda about, oh, well, the rich are exploiting the poor, and we the Belters, man, boss man. I don't know. I think, one last thing to talk about with the Expanse, I'll take some questions. A lot has been made about people talking about Justified. Let's just see if I can share something with you real quick. Hang on 1 second. Oops, hang on. 1 second. Yeah. I liked Timothy Oliphant in Deadwood, but I am proud to say, I am really pretty good friends with international film and television star Nick Searcy. And I don't tell Nick yet because I haven't talked to him, but I really expect Nick is going to be playing one of the major characters in this thing. And I call him international film and television star Nick Searcy because that's how he refers to himself. And he's one of my favorite people on the face of planet Earth. Nick Searcy. I watched the election results with Nick Searcy, as a matter of fact, before I went on camera at Daily Wire, I was sitting there with Nick Searcy and Adam Baldwin from Firefly. The three of us were talking about. Adam was saying, "Let's switch to MSNBC. It's time to watch them start crying." And I said, hey, let's just wait a little bit until we get this thing iced." But and I hope to be able to pay both of them, and I will be able to pay both of them. Yeah, score one for the good guys, and I think it's going to be great. So it's going to be the anti. It's going to be the anti-Expanse. Oh, I remember the final thing. A lot has been made about the Expanse. How it's so realistic. It's so incredibly realistic. It's not. It's really not. It's an incredibly realistic space combat. No, not really. They do the docking on Titan Station. It's like it's almost like they drift the Rocinante into position. It's like everything's so fast, and the visual style of the Expanse I don't like at all. It's so dark, visually dark. The planets don't look real. The ships don't look real. The lighting doesn't look real. And they are so selective with their gravity boots. It just, not going to be any of that in the colonies. If there's zero gravity, it'll be zero gravity. If it's low gravity, it'll be low gravity. If it's high gravity, it'll be high gravity. But we're not going to click our little magnetic boots and then basically walk around for the rest of the episode and feel like we got it covered. I'm just not impressed. Anyway, let's see what we got for questiones here. So I have to pull up my Facebook page. I'll do maybe 45 minutes max. Max power. Max power. Those are great episodes back when The Simpsons were funny. Let's see here. Facebook. I know you're out there, Facebook. Looking forward to getting off of Facebook. These things are so busy now, but we're going to make, probably after this election's decided one way or another, we're just going to make the big move, and then we're just going to say, hey, put a Facebook post up saying, come and see us over at MeWe or over at Parler or whatever else is out there. All right, so here we go. And I feel bad about not having those renderings of those planets or that other animations either. All right, well, here's a good question from Martin Archer. I'm curious as to why it seems like you're designing your sci-fi movies and characters before you've completed a script. Surely it would be far more important to write a killer script first and then design for that. Great point, Martin, except for the fact that I write killer scripts at my leisure. That's just me wallowing my own crapulence. The actual answer to that is yes. I've been doing a lot of lighting tests. I've been doing feasibility tests, trying to see if I can pull off this demo to get this thing funded. However, as far as the writing the script first goes, you can't write the script until you know what the setting is, and you got to know the setting. And I've just been fleshing out the setting, fleshing out the storylines. Once you start doing that, then the scenes really write themselves. And many times I'll see like an asset or something, a 3D asset, and I just think, wow, how do I use that? Give you a great example. I saw an Unreal redwood forest asset, really excellent. $60 or something, maybe it's 100. And it's beautiful. It's all the ferns and all the leaves are moving in the wind, and it looks really, really good on Unreal 4. And on Unreal 5, I think it'll be indistinguishable from reality. I thought, man, that's a great model. It's a great asset. I just can't imagine how I'd use it. And then I thought, wait a minute. Why don't I have the head guy who's going out on this exploration mission or the naval mission? Why don't I have him fly his little space helicopter up there and have him walk around and sit on a rock in the middle of the redwoods? Because if you're about to ship out for 3 years or 4 years in an aluminum can, maybe you want to get a little fresh air. And then I started developing that and thinking about that. And then I started writing the dialogue for when the radio call comes in. And I thought, perfect, fantastic. So you have to have the set. You have to, the setting. you really can't write a Star Trek episode until you know about Starfleet Command. You know, you can't write an episode about Star Trek episode unless you know how warp drive works and what's the relationship between Scotty and McCoy and Kirk and Spock and Uhura and all the rest of them. You got to have those things set out first. Once you do that, and if you do that well, and when I say well, I mean distinctively, then they really do write themselves. Like, for example, that Amos character on Expanse writes himself. I could easily write an hour with him, and I've only seen 2 seasons of him, but I could write for him without any problem at all, because he's so clear, and that doesn't mean he's predictable. He's just defined. He's very, very well defined 3-dimensional character. When I was working doing those spec scripts for Cheers a long time ago, when that have been 90, around 1990, somewhere around 91. I did 3 spec scripts for them. I submitted the first one for a friend, and then they asked me to write 2 more. That was their last season. But I did 3 or 4, I can't remember now. But all of them were, A script was a Frasier story, and the B story was, the A story was Frasier, and the B story was Cliff. Because I felt like, well, especially Cliff Clavin writes himself. If you watch Cheers long enough, you get Cliff, and you have any writing skill at all, you know what Cliff would do, and you know how he sounds. He writes himself. And that's good writing. So I understood Frasier, and I understood how to make fun, smart people jokes, and I understood his vanity, and I understood his fundamental goodness, and I understood Cliff's egoism and his inferiority complex, and his incredible burning desire to be seen as smart, and once you get that, it's done. So you really do have to do the foundations first before you can start laying out the scripts. But I have, when I'm ready to go to bat with this thing, I'm going to have a first episode finished script, polished script. I'm going to have 3 paragraph outlines for 10 episodes in the first season, and then I'm going to have multiple pages on what happens in season 2 and 3. I think out to 3 seasons. So a lot of writing to do, in addition to the other writing I have to do, which will keep coming. Dave Olson. So we all agree that politics is downstream of culture. We've all heard that Daily Wire is going to start doing original programming like Netflix, Amazon, etc. Other than Aurora or Big Bad Problems, what 3 stories would you like to pitch to Ben Shapiro to start your own series? First of all, I think you should probably make the pitch to Jeremy Boring rather than Ben Shapiro, but other than that, I did a history series for them, which hasn't aired yet. Would have been airing in the end of October, but the election just sucked all the oxygen out of everything. Called America's Forgotten Heroes, and I got a chance to tell the story of Taffy 3. If I could make a movie today, that's what I would do. I saw Greyhound with Tom Hanks, and you know, those effects are easily achievable. And I thought Greyhound looked good. I just didn't think there was much story there. In fact, looking back on Greyhound, all I remember is Tom Hanks running from one side of the ship to the other, saying, full right rudder. So given how fast and how inexpensive special effects are and how good they're looking, I'd do the story of Taffy 3 without question be the first thing I would do. One of the other people I dealt with on that series was Jimmy Doolittle, and I would do a movie about the Doolittle raid. That is an incredibly dense story, and both of those episodes I'm very, very proud of. And then for a third one, I don't know if anything really just leaps to mind. You know, I might as well stick to what I know. I mean, I did 7 episodes on that show, and all of those stories were much deeper and better than I thought. So if I had to do 3, I would do the story of Ernest Evans, USS Johnston, Samuel B. Roberts, Taffy 3. After that, I would do the story of the Doolittle raid, what happened to them after they got captured and shot down, and take it all the way up to the last of them dying in 2019 with all the silver goblets and all the rest of it. And the third thing I would do is I'd do the story of Frank Luke, because I think that's a tremendously great unexpected story. Frank Luke is comes down to us as this dead-eyed murderer, arrogant, and he was arrogant and boastful and stuff. But when you understand the story behind Frank Luke, it's like he was always best at what he did. He was all-state um, fullback in his junior year, and he was national champion, state champions anyway. And he was the best natural pilot that anyone had ever seen. By the time he got to the front, he was out flying his instructor. He shot down his instructor on his first combat training mission. And asking about fictional dramas or comedies, these are what I would do, Dave. I mean, I don't know if I really want to just do fictional stuff. I think these are great stories, and they're certainly not talking about doing them like documentaries. However, you know what a great example would be Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was great, and it's based on a real life character, and I thought that was handled just beautifully. That was a great movie. So that's what I would do. And Frank Luke is really amazing story. Visually, it's incredible, and it's got a lot of drama. Nobody talked to him. Everybody hated him. He had one friend in the whole world out there, a guy named Fritz, and this guy was being bullied for being, a German name in an American fighter squadron in World War One. And they went out there and just started going after balloons and shot down 18 aircraft in 12 days or something like that. And it's just great drama. It's just great. And I went into that episode not liking Frank Luke, thinking this was going to be just sort of a, kind of a macho sort of thing, Rambo kind of thing. Nope. I ended up loving the guy when I left. By the time I was done with it, I just thought this really great kid. And so I think that'd be fun to do too. All right. George Freeland, considering the cost of keeping people in space, would you expect to see a reform school established on Mars for Belter's problem children? Well, there you go. We've kind of already answered that one, George. I don't. The reason that space is interesting to me, and I think that so many people want to go, is because honestly, you can't be stupid in space, and you can't be lazy either. You just can't afford it. It's the same as the frontier. There were no lazy people on the frontier. You could be stupid on the frontier because if you stepped outside and you forgot to put your long johns on, you'd get cold, but you wouldn't die. You step outside in space without your helmet, you're done. But with that said, I just don't see how you could possibly justify people that don't do anything other than huddle and moan and protest. Clearly there's a future where society in space gets so sophisticated that you can afford those kind of luxuries, but I don't want to tell that story. And I don't like the future that the Expanse is selling. I think it's bleak and kind of easy, lazy. Star Trek Discovery is. I've not watched a single episode. I've not watched 3 minutes of it in a row. But the Federation's destroyed in the future, and thank God we have Space Jesus and she saves everything. But that's turned into a cynical thing. There's a scene in the Star Trek Discovery episode 3 where a crewman is killed and he's splattered all over the compartment next door. And a Starfleet commander played by, what's her name, Tig Nogara or whatever, basically says, just go out and clean up that mess. This used to be a person that they worked with. Gene Roddenberry never ever allowed that to happen. You imagine Captain Kirk saying, oh yeah, one of our guys got to get somebody to clean up that mess. It's unimaginable. In fact, when I saw that episode and I saw that attitude and I realized this is what 27-year-old women think being a commander is, is this kind of tough. They just don't have a clue. A clue. And the second I saw that, I thought, well, was Kirk like that? I was like, no, I remember the episode I can almost remember the name of the episode. I used to be able to name all 72 of them. But it's the episode where the creatures, are they from Andromeda Galaxy? Is that the one where they move really fast and talk? Anyway, they take a crewman and they hit them with the sound effect, and they turn him into a little, like a decahedron about this big. And it's like, basically, yeah, it's like, here is everything this yeoman, this woman, and a couple of them, they shrink them down to this thing. And they say, basically, this is all of the chemicals that make up your body. We've just removed all the water. This is this person. And they can reconstitute it, but the guy goes to make a point and he crushes one of them into dust. And that person's dead. And you can see it. And you can feel it on Kirk's face when he's holding these little bits of, like, styrofoam or whatever it is. Like, this used to be one of my people, you miserable bastard. And he feels it. He's always felt it. He always feels for his crew. It's always about the crew. And you see this drivel from Discovery, and you realize, not only is this not Star Trek, it's anti-Star Trek. It is the antithesis of Trek. It doesn't have anything to do with it. And there's nothing out there that does. It's mean-spirited. It's mean is what it is. It's just mean. And this is what people who hate Star Trek do when they write Star Trek. These are social justice warriors using Star Trek and Star Wars as a platform to advance their miserable failure of social ideas. They hate the franchise. They hate science fiction. They hate men. They hate exploration. They hate all of it. So they just go and destroy it. And it's there's a big hole out there in the pop culture where Star Trek and Star Wars used to be, and I'm going to move into that space, and I'm going to fill it, and I'm going to create something that's going to last a long time. If you could pan around this room, just everything in this room is either Star Trek or Sid Mead, and to say it changed my life is the understatement of the year. It changed an entire generation of people. And now they're destroying it, and that's it's what it is. So yeah, Dave Big Booty points out, Khan, if it's me you want, I'll beam over, spare my crew. Always take me. Clean up that mess. You'll clean up that crap here. And by the way, she gives him a shovel, a space shovel. Disgraceful. Spore drive, Jesus. Apparently, the spore drive runs on human tears. That's why we all have to cry so much. And that's something I'm going to be dealing with too, where some kind of a stressful situation where somebody's going to just start to, it's not going to be like a Hudson thing, although God knows that was great from Aliens. But it is going to be a kind of, hey, you better just man up right now, man. We don't have time for this. You want to weep about it, you weep about it when we get back to base. It's just, it's terrible, 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 terrible. Okay, moving on. Eric Blake. Hey, Bill. Hey, Eric. And so you got the movie rights to several of Robert Heinlein's sci-fi classics, so which one would you wish to see made into a movie first? Moon is a Harsh Mistress, Starship Troopers, Citizen of the Galaxy, another one. If you prefer to produce the films and let someone else direct, what writer-director today would you most want to direct each? Well, I'll just take one. I don't know them very, very well. I would certainly remake Starship Troopers, without question. I'd make it for real. The Starship Troopers is a tremendous novel, and it gets to some very serious, deep issues. And was it Roland Emmerich or whoever the communist frickin' European was that directed that thing? He was just going to do a Bugs movie, an alien movie, and they literally stapled on the Starship Troopers name on it. It had nothing to do with Starship Troopers, and he couldn't understand what Heinlein was saying, so he just basically decided to make fun of it, like, ha ha ha, we're all Nazis, isn't that funny? Go piss off, you miserable European weakling. And go back and eat some more cheese in your surrender pit. The issues he's raising are very deep issues. Paul Verhoeven, thank you. Yeah, very, very deep issues. This business about, do you need to risk your life in order to become a citizen? You make a compelling case for it. real compelling case for it, and you can also make a compelling case against it. And you know, if you're going to remake Starship Troopers, and that's what I would do to answer your question, what what you cannot make that movie unless you understand how soldiers deal with each other, how they talk, and their attitude about things. Um, you get close to it sometimes. I mean, Cameron Cameron caught Cameron caught one side of like military life, and he never got the other side or the other 10 sides or 20 or whatever, but he got one side of it. He got the griping and the bitching stuff down. But as much as I love it, it's my favorite movie, Aliens. There's more to a combat platoon than people wise-assing and snapping towels at each other and making, clever comments. There's more to it than that. I think the best I've ever seen was constantly doing my little checking here because I hate to be wrong about these things. Give me one second. Hang on. Oops, sorry. That's not it. Yeah. It's the opening scene in Lone Survivor. The story about those guys in Afghanistan. And there's a scene where they're all kind of together in like a tent, and the dynamic felt really, really right to me. Really felt good. I don't know why. I just feel like it's. It seems like it really just captured it. Really got it down. If I see one more, if I see the Star Wars Squadrons just came out, the video game, and all the cutscenes. I saw all the cutscenes a couple days ago. Just watched them all together, and the Rebellion's fighter squadron, of course, is nothing but aliens and women, and all of the women pilots are smack talking, hot rodding, cartoon images of what either a female writer or a beta male thinks that fighter pilots are. Top Gun got fighter pilots completely wrong, but at least they got it wrong in the right way. So I watched the cutscenes from this, and it was unbearable. And the cutscenes from the Empire side were unbearable, because the character. I just didn't believe that this 24-year-old Asian chick is commanding an entire fleet for the Empire. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I know you want me to believe it, but I don't believe it. And I'm not gonna pretend like I believe it, because it's unbelievable. So yeah, I would do Starship Troopers right. I'd make it real gritty, and I would do the bugs right, and I would make it. I have to tell you, there was a lot about the movie I liked in terms of the visuals. I thought and that movie's like 1999 or something. I thought the bugs were great. I thought they were great. Give me time to go home soon. But the whole thing, I mean, Verhoeven, honest to God, did not know what to do. He just couldn't understand it, thought the whole thing was either a joke or that he was some kind of genuine fascist, and he didn't have the faintest idea what that ethos was about. And so, so he made it into a joke, and that's what the movie was. It was a joke. A lot of people were bagging on Casper Van Diem. I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was a much better actor than I thought he would be. And I know some people who were in number 3, but the sequels that they did to that were just direct-to-video things. Oh, he said Mr. Subtle says he didn't even read the book. Okay. Thanks. I hope I hope Heinlein's family got some money for it anyway, something. So we'll move on and do a couple more and call it a day. And I'm bummed out about those pictures not being there. I loaded them, spent time on them. I'll cry later. Vince D. Hey, Vince. I have to catch it later since I'm commuting home during the presentation on Twitch. Well, all right then. Good to see you, Vince, and thanks for the support. Martin, again, we'll deal with that. We'll go do a new one. Hey, Merlin Wonderbo, my friend Merlin. Some picture here. Oh, picture of the three of us, hot new boy band, me, Steve, and Scott. It's called High Pitch Billy and the Delusional Whiny Swastikas. Awesome. Did an episode on COVID-19, and I said, I'm Bill Whittle, and I'm here with my comorbidities, Steve Green and Scott Ott. I thought it was kind of funny. All right, two of them back to back. I'll just take the first one. I recently rewatched V for Vendetta. I couldn't bear to see that thing. I just remember when it came out, I just wanted to kill people. Seems the script for 2020 was plagiarized from that movie. As long as we're all required to wear a mask by our ineffective, as long as we're required to wear masks by our ineffective masks by the fascist dictators, should we all get Guy Fawkes smiles on our masks and make a movement out of it? First of all, if I see another one of those Guy Fawkes masks, I'm gonna punch that person in the face. I've never seen that mask on anybody who I didn't have a particularly low opinion of. It to me is just it's like a tattoo that says "Kick me, I'm an idiot." And that brings me to something else, by the way, which I'm on a, pardon the expression, jihad about, and that is this term resistance. Now, I'm a guy who really was very, very proud of the common sense resistance and all of that stuff, and when that happened, that was, what, 6 years ago. But after watching the thing with Donald Trump, I don't want ever to be associated with the term resistance again. And if Trump is not reelected, if they pull this crime off, I will campaign aggressively against the use of the term resistance. This is not a resistance. This is a counter-revolution. It is an offensive. It's Operation Justice. Resistance is, at least has become, such a passive-aggressive kind of thing. You know, that reminds me of what somebody said about the French during World War II. They talked about there were a number of heroic French that really did risk their lives and so on, but most of the French people claimed to be in the resistance, and somebody said, you know, if a waiter overcharged a German officer by 3 francs, you know, he considered himself a member of the resistance, and that was an act of heroism. It's like, yeah, okay. No, if this crime gets committed, then I think resistance is a far too pale a term for what we're talking about. I think we should be talking about open, outright revolt. And we can be revolting, and that's fine with me. Deplorables, revolting, whatever you want to call us, that's fine. But if this happens, I'm just going to be saying, okay, I no longer have a contract with my government. My contract with the government said, I'll obey the law, I'll pay taxes, and in exchange for that, I get to decide who's going to have political power, and I also get to, and whoever that person is has to obey the law. And if they're taking both sides of those things away from me, then we don't have a contract anymore. The only obligation I have is an obligation to overthrow that government. That's it. A moral obligation to, not to resist the Biden presidency or the Biden administration. Not a question of resisting them. It's a question of overthrowing them. It's a question of they are not the legitimate government of this country. They are not entitled to the same protections that Barack Obama had, who I despise. It is not our government. It's stolen in front of our eyes, and we owe it nothing. We owe the country everything, but we owe the government nothing. And one of the problems that has to be solved. There's a lot of problems that have to be solved, but one of them is the problem of, like, for example, if every single person in LA, if every single restaurant owner put up a banner that said French Laundry over the top of their restaurant sign and then just defied these orders, what would they do if everybody did it? Everybody knows that if everybody stopped paying their taxes, there's nothing they could do about it, right? I mean, there's really, if everybody were to stop paying their taxes, there's nothing that they could do about that. The problem is getting everybody to do it at the same time. Because if a few people start, then they swoop down on those people, and it's tough. But it is, it's the kind of thing nobody talks about ever. But it's true. If everybody decided, no, we're not paying any more taxes, what are they going to do? They're going to arrest us all and throw us in jail? What are they going to do? There's nothing they can do. And by the way, this is the one thing they are genuinely terrified of. Absolutely, genuinely terrified of is the idea that somebody's going to wake up to the fact that they have no actual power over us other than our own built-in respect for law and order, which is evaporated for me. I have no respect for the Biden government. I have no respect for the FBI. I have no respect for the federal government anymore. I have no respect for NASA anymore. I love the country. I think the country's still intact. I think the American people are amazing. But this thing is, I don't know what anything. And if Trump is reelected, and then there's a chance to punish these criminals, then that's great. If not, then this is not. It's still my country, but it's not my government. And I'm not going to be one of Joe Biden's not my president. It's like, no, Joe. It's not that Joe Biden isn't my president. It's that Joe Biden isn't the president. He's not the president. Anyway, so that's that. I think I'll do one more, and then I am going to mosey on home. I'm very hungry. Haven't eaten anything all day today. Yeah, why not? Challenge accepted. Battlestar Galactica Viper versus X-Wing. Meet over the lunar green patch. Fights on. You have 40 seconds to live. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with the Viper on that one, I think. The X-Wing is just it's iconic, but it's really ugly. It's really, really ugly. And those flat plane canopies and stuff. I'll do another one because that one's too easy. All right, Patrick Dominici, absolutely love The Expanse. Well, you probably tuned out of this episode a while ago, Patrick. I hope not, anyway. Let's see what we have to say. Not since the early days of the 100 have I had a similar feel of sci-fi goodness. Bill, what's your favorite science fiction universe? Fantasy such as Lord of the Rings or The Witcher or even Elder Scrolls are all acceptable. I feel like they're nature fiction and nature is science. Excellent. I'm going to go with, I think, yeah. I'm going to go, my favorite science fiction universe is Red Tunic Star Trek. Not Next Generation Star Trek. It's Enterprise class, NCC 1701 refit, no letters after it. It's Wrath of Khan. That to me is, that, I remember the first time I saw the Reliant and I just thought, oh man. I just really like that. That's my favorite. I don't even know what the 100 is, by the way. Everybody's referring to the 100. I thought it was a typo. I have no idea. I like the Aliens universe a lot. And it's interesting because if you look at the, I don't know if you've seen the director's cut of Aliens, but there's lots of really important stuff that they cut out, and it's really so much better, the director's cut. It's almost an hour longer. It's so much better. They spent a lot more time on the backstory of Newt and her family. And Hadley's Hope, the colony on Aliens, is not a fun place. It's not a pleasant place, and the people there are not glamorous and not all scientists, but there was nobody there that I didn't believe. I believed all of them. And I thought they were really, really good. I think I love the universe. I love the look of them. I love the look of the dropship. I love the look of the Sulaco. I like the Nostromo was baroque and weird and cool. The acting on Alien, the first one, is I think maybe the best ensemble acting I've ever seen of any kind in a movie. It is absolutely top rate acting. Entire cast is faultlessly good. They're just absolutely magnificent. I've never seen a cast work the way the cast from Alien worked. Aliens had good chemistry too, but you had a lot more people to spread it out over. The first Alien movies is astonishingly good. So that whole universe is great. I think what else? I have to tell you, I've become completely addicted to the Warhammer 40K universe. Absolutely 100% on. In fact, I'm reading that on my iPad. I've started reading the novels. I absolutely love it, and I thought I would hate it. I saw the characters. I saw the huge, armor plating. I saw the square, airplanes. I saw the bizarre spaceships and stuff, and now I just absolutely love Warhammer 40K. It is it is it is it's at its best when it's at its worst, and when it's at its worst, it is horrific. It is just it's actually, I think that's what it is. I think the thing I like most about Warhammer 40K is that I've never seen human imagination so impishly applied to fleshing out sheer human misery. It is in the grim dark future, in the grim darkness of the far future there is only war, and it's just horrific. And the more you learn about it, the more horrific it gets. These hive cities and servitors and all, it's horrible, and just brutal and dismal and fantastic. And it's fun to watch them flesh that out, because you can actually watch where somebody who's really very, very imaginative has gone out of their way to add some deviously horrible thing to the mix that no one could have really anticipated. And I'm trying to think of what a good example of that might be. A servitor is a pretty good example. So instead of robots in this universe, they have people who are either, felons or traitors or whatever. They basically lobotomize them and give them like this electronic brain, and they do nothing but they're like biological robots. They're just these monstrosities. They're horrible. The idea that the emperor is a living corpse, and that the skull is a representation not of what we're going to do to you, but just that our god emperor is a corpse, and he's kept alive by the sacrifice of 1,000 psychers every single day, and his psychic energy powers this lighthouse that allows people to navigate. And if 1,000 people aren't massacred a day, 1,000 psychers aren't massacred a day, then that's that. It's horrible, and great. It's really, 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 really good, and not only great, it's deep. There is so much mental horsepower applied to that. You've got with Warhammer 40K, you don't just have like James Cameron thinking through a universe, or Ridley Scott. You've got, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 10 good game designers, and then and this is a board game. It's way before computer games, and then you've got, I don't know how long it's been out, but something like 30 years, 40 years of fans and more detail and writing, and the backstory on every one of the legions, and the backstory on the Empire, and even the aliens are fantastic. They're just great. Even the orcs, which I thought, oh, come on. I realize now they're comic relief because you have to have comic relief in this thing. And I just love it. I just think it's fantastic. The Emperor protects. And I love I love kind of the ethos of it, the kind of our job is just simply soldier on and die for the Emperor. That's it. What are you going to do after that? There is no after that. Are you going to retire? Nobody retires. We're just going to go out there and fight until we're killed. And well, what happens to your kids? Well, if they're lucky, they'll become soldiers to fight till they're killed too. If not, they'll go down into the pits. There's an example of what I was looking for. Um, this guy who I like a lot on YouTube, a guy named Oculus, does 40K updates in character, and he does them as this very prissy kind of um, monk bureaucrat kind of thing. And I think it was from him, and he was talking about what a pilgrimage to Earth looked like. The oceans haven't just been evaporated; they've been stolen. Somebody came and stole the oceans for their own personal use. He said he was writing about this world. He said something like 1 million spaceships touch down every single minute on Earth. The universe consists of trillions and trillions of people. The traffic coming in and out of Earth is endless. Earth can't feed itself for an hour. It's just constantly consuming all these supplies, and just horrible. And then he talks about the pilgrimage and how people get, first you have to wait on the moon, and you may have to wait on the moon for 5 years or 10 years. People spent 30 years on the moon, never got to see Earth, and so on, and just kept walking it in. And finally you get down to Earth, and it's just this poisonous, blasted, no global warming nonsense. It's just a pit of chemical poisons produced from nothing but industry, and the emperor's palace is the size of a continent. And the one little thing that I talked about a minute ago about embellishing things to such a high polish of horrible was, and when you die there, and you're going to die there, you'll probably just can't survive the atmosphere and stuff. But if you go on a pilgrimage to try to make it to the imperial palace, sooner or later you're going to die from something. And when you do, you'll be recycled. And the stuff that you will be recycled into was called corpse paste. That's what people eat on Earth in Warhammer 40K. They eat corpse paste. That's awesome. It's great. All right, I'm going to go home. I'm going to get some food. Food. All right. Yeah, I think that'll do it, guys. I'm kind of hungry, kind of tired. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for being with us, and very sorry about these animations. I'll tease them up for after the electors meet in 11 days from now, and then we'll see what we will see. I do know that if Trump's got some secret weapons, they're going to have to be deployed pretty quick. This next week should tell the tale. And I certainly hope that as many people have said, that this stuff from Georgia is just the beginning. Anyway, that'll do it. So the show's made possible by the paying members at BillWhittle.com, who have increased in number significantly lately. And not only that, but a large number of people have made one-time donations at BillWhittle.com, and it is greatly appreciated. It really kept us afloat here, and it's been dicey business, but that really made an enormous difference. And if you're one of those people that either recently joined or made a one-time donation, we're very grateful. Yes, the pain, Marilyn's got that right. The made possible by the pain members at BillWhittle.com. In the grim dark future of BillWhittle.com, there is nothing but pain. Pain members. Anyway, that'll do it. So, honey, I'm coming home, and guys, I will see you later, and I will say hi to Natasha for you. Have a firewall shot tomorrow, I hope, and on the racks. And these are interesting times, and I think this week coming is going to be. I saw a little meme or something. It was a one sentence. It was in an email, a collection of like funny statements, and one of them said, "I am very sick and tired of living in historical times, or living in a historical era," or something like. Yeah, me too. All right, COVIDiots, one and all. I will see you guys next week. We will be here next week, right here on the Stratosphere Lounge. Thanks.